Right. So if you already went on your summer vacation, that may have been a prudent, a wise call because next month flight tickets are going back up. So we've been kind of on a slight down recently on airfare.
Right.
On the back of this optimism that the U.S. and Iran ceasefire deal might be happening. It is not, at least for the time being.
Sure.
So with this, tickets that will be issued in September, 9월 발권 기준 항공편입니다, will be high.
Okay, so I'm afraid to ask, but I gotta ask, how high?
Okay, not as high as what it was in May, but the highest in 3 months. So according to those in the airline industry, airlines will apply level 21 fuel surcharge, 유류할증료. So for reference, this month we've been on level 14. So that's 7 levels higher than what it was this month. The peak for reference was in May. That was at unprecedented first ever level 33. So since that peak, the fuel surcharge levels had been going down for 3 consecutive months. But because this war in the Middle East has been going on without a ceasefire, it is on an uptick again.
Yes, so how much are we talking about exactly?
Right. For the average consumer, level
Yes.
21, level 33, that means nothing. So I'm going to give you examples via Korean Air. One-way ticket, the fuel surcharge here, could add up to 94,000, round trip 189,000 won. 거의 20만 원이 더해질 수도 있습니다. So let's look at it. Depends because definitely depends on the distance.
Of course.
Shorter routes, for example, like Busan to Shanghai, will come out to 48,000 won next month compared to 35,000 won fuel surcharge this month. That's like 13,000원 difference, but round trip, and if it's like a family trip,
Sure.
it adds up. But speaking of things adding up, for long distance flights from Incheon to the U.S. or parts of Canada, right now the fuel surcharge is at 259,000 won. Next month, that'll get bumped up to 354,000 won.
And this is, of course, due to the rise in global oil prices.
Of course. So when we are looking at our price at the pump, we're looking at the Brent crude. However, for airfare, the Singapore jet fuel is the international standard for fuel surcharge.
Okay.
And they have this period that sets a fuel surcharge. For September, that period was July 16th to August 15th. And during this period, the price of jet fuel went up by 25% compared to the preceding period. And that came to a little under $150 per barrel.
So this is a conundrum for escalators, one line versus 2 lines.
And here's my question to
Okay.
you, waivers, Catherine, our producer. Do you stand, don't walk, stand on the left side of the escalator?
No. wait, don't people stand on the right?
People stand on the right, but what about on the left? Here's the thing. You're supposed to stand in 2 lines. But then I'm going to get pushback from, I think, the general internet and you and our like everybody else, basically, because the social convention, it seems it's always been single file line
That's
to the
what I
right
thought.
and then let people through on the left.
Yes.
So anywhere you have escalators, you will see people do just that. But the government has been trying to change that culture because it's been pointed out that, number 1, it could be dangerous, and number 2, bad for the escalator itself.
Really? So is this like an official process?
It kind of is. So the Interior Ministry and the Korea Elevator Safety Agency, which abbreviates its name to KOELSA, so they're holding a policy discussion forum later this month, and they're going to be talking about escalators and safety.
Okay.
So actually last year, the government did say that they are going to pursue this 2-line standing approach. But this time, rather than this being the conclusive result from the get-go,
Right.
they're going to look at the causes of many escalator accidents, how people use them, and upkeep issues.
Okay.
And Interior Minister Yoon Ho-jung said that escalator culture is really closely tied to our day-to-day lives. And therefore, it has such diverse opinions, and that warrants further discussion.
Okay, well, what is the deal with the lines once again? Is it 1? Is it 2?
So, all right, let's go back to kind of the history. Back in 1998, this is when these single file lines were encouraged by the government. So that was their official stance, and civil society too. And that definitely spread and stayed with the 2002 World Cup. That was seen as the social etiquette and the norm. But then safety issues began happening, like people like busting through, people trying to move, get out of the way.
Sure.
In 2007, they started to push the two-line approach. But then people are like, no, I got to get places, get out of my way.
Right.
So that didn't take hold. Therefore, the government officially stopped the two-line campaign in 2015. So that was 11 years ago.
What is the problem with single file lines on escalators?
Falling. Okay, so between 2016 and last year, there have been 135 major escalator-related accidents, so heavy injuries. 90% of them are from user negligence. It wasn't just like the escalator stopping and hurting people. It was people, majority of them from falling. Usually, a lot of the cases do have to do with seniors. Maybe they were standing on the left side or like center. Somebody's trying to like get through, like they're like, excuse me. They try to move for them, moving floor, moving escalator. That's number one issue. Also, uneven pressure because the majority of the weight is on the right side of the escalator.
Sure.
That leads to uneven erosion. So if you have been extremely irritated on the subway because really that escalator is under maintenance again, that might be because of that uneven wear and tear.
So what's the rule now?
They're trying to encourage the two line, and then if you are in a hurry, take the stairs or take the elevator.
Up next, we've been talking about how tough the job market has been, especially for young people, and you have numbers about this.
Right, so many young people, usually they go for the large corporate jobs.
Right.
But the new hires for these large conglomerates have decreased by 15% in the past 2 years. This is an analysis by Leaders Index of the top 500 firms that have disclosed their hiring figures by age group, so that falls down to 113 companies.
Yes.
So the scale of new recruitments went from 109,000 in 2023 to just 92,000 last year. That was a 15% decrease. But this rate was actually larger than the total number of hires, which only went down by about 300 people.
So there was a definite age-related pattern, though.
Tough market for young people as the rate of new hires for under 30. That group dropped by 13.8%. On the contrary, the rate of new hires for people over the age of 50 actually increased by 4.5%. And they actually now account for 18.4% of the job market, very narrowly, but still exceeding the 18.3% of young people 30 or under. So there's been a flip.
Yes. Well, were there specific sectors where this was even more prominent?
Right. So looking at areas where young people are struggling to get jobs, logistics, 유통, food and beverages, construction, telecommunications, and insurance. So this on the surface may look like just a random array of industries, but if you get down to it, they all have to do with demand, 내수. So that shows how tough demand has been and spending has been.
Right.
But other industries that have seen rapid growth, like semiconductors and biosectors, they have hired more young people.
We're going to move on and talk about this live music venue in Busan, which is facing a 2-month closure. And then I saw the reason, and then we have you to explain. For dancing?
For standing and dancing.
Oh.
Okay, so this particular musical venue, it served as a key spot for indie and local musicians for the past 8 years, so for the better part of a decade. But according to this particular business, it is facing a 2-month closure because some of the audience members moved the tables and chairs around, made this kind of empty spot, and danced while they were enjoying and watching the performance.
Okay, so this is where I'm a little confused. Is that like breaking the law?
It is very much on a technicality. So because this venue, while we call it a venue, 공연장, it was registered as a regular restaurant, 일반 음식점, because apparently the procedure to get a business registered as like a concert or performance venue, much more tricky in terms of the fire code and the infrastructure that they need to have.
Sure.
Also, under the Food Sanitation Act, you cannot dance at a regular restaurant because then, like, what's the difference between this and a bar and a club?
Right.
So apparently, Namgu District Office recently received a civil complaint about that behavior, confirmed that, yes, some of the audience members dance in this standing space. So they've taken the necessary administrative measures, which include a 2-month shutdown.
Okay, and apparently this has incited controversy from the music scene.
Right, because of apparently what that business symbolized for the Busan indie music scene.
Okay.
And apparently it's been very emblematic. Some groups have lodged petitions to revise the law to let small live clubs be able to survive and operate without
Sure.
such, red tape. And the petition says that, because you might think, well, they're not shutting down the entire business forever. It's just 2 months. But then the thing is, if you are a small struggling business, 2 months is a long time.
It is.
Because during these 2 months, there were performances scheduled. So there are contract termination penalties to consider.
Right.
2 months worth of rent when they're not making any income and all of that. So experts are pointing out that these small-scale live clubs are crucial grassroots cultural spaces between artists, connecting them to fans, and that this is a result of these kind of antiquated technical laws
Right.
not being able to encompass these independent music cultures.
All right, we're going to call it a wrap for all the Woggly news, and we'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great day.